वागर्थविव सम्प्रक्तौ वागर्थो प्रतिपत्तये जगतः पितरौ वन्दे பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரோ. ஐந்து கரத்தனை யானை முகத்தனை எந்தின் இளம்பிறை போலும் எயிற்றனை நந்தி மகந்தனை ஞான கொழுந்தினை புந்தியில் வைத்தடி போற்றுகின்றேனே. ஓம் நிதயே சர்வ வித்யானாம் விஷஜே பவரோகிணாம் உரவே சர்வலோகானாம் தக்ஷிணாமூர்த்தயே நமः. ஓம் நம பிரணவார்த்தாய சுத்த ஞானைகமூர்த்தயே நிர்மலாய பிரசாந்தாய தக்ஷிணாமூர்த்தயே நமः. ஈஸ்வரோ குருராத்மேதி மூர்த்திபேத விபாகினே व्योमवत् व्याप्त देहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः. ஒன்றவன் தானே இரண்டவன் இன்னருள் நின்றனன் மூன்றினுள் நான்கு உணர்ந்தனன் ஐந்து வென்றனன் ஆறு வெறிந்தனன் ஏழும்பாற் சென்றனன் தான் இருந்தான் உணர்ந்து எட்டே. ஸ்ருதி ஸ்மிருதி புராணானாம் ஆலயம் கருணாலயம் நமாமி பகவத்பாதம் சங்கரம் லோக சங்கரம். அதிமதுர சாபஹஸ்தாம் அபரிமிதாமோத சௌபாக்யாம் அருணாமதிஷய கருணாம் அபிநவ குல சுந்தரீம் வந்தே. So just to rekindle your memory and keep the flow, and just to point out to you that throughout these slokas, 100 of them, the continuity is never missed. There's always this continuity in all these 100 slokas. We miss it. Why we miss it? Because Acharya goes into so much details in each one of those. So up to now, I'll point out the continuity. As we go along, we'll continue doing so. Because Shakti is with Shiva, that's why the whole drama happens, the creation, cosmic creation. Otherwise, Shiva cannot even move. And then we saw how that creation happens, how the three CEOs, the creator, the maintainer, and the resolver are appointed, and how do they function. And then we saw that it was with the dust of Taniyamsum Pamsum. That's how we saw details. And then after having created, and while it's being maintained, and also while it's being resolved, how Devi never left the creation, and how she dealt with the humans, the different categories of humans, avidyana, jadana, etc., etc. So, and then in the next verse, the continuity goes that in dealing with these devotees who are created, how Devi is different from the other devatas. Tadhanyaha, rest of them all show these things, the Abhaya Hastam and Varada Hastam. You alone don't do it. So we saw all that in detail in verse number 4. Now here, in verse number 5, we are going to see details how in the process of maintaining this creation, maintaining means not only nourishing, not only giving what we need for growth, spiritual as well as physical, but also taking care of the negative forces that attack you. So that is maintenance. You see, like, you build a house and do all that stuff, but still you put some alarms for security, right? Or if you're in a development, there are security guards. So because there's always negative forces. So here we are given details as to how Vishnu gets this power from Devi by having this unique ability to take any time a form of a bewitching maiden, like a beautiful damsel. So that gift, that vara, that he gets from Devi. And what he did with that gift, we will go see in details here. And same way, Manmata also gets his power by worshipping Devi to a bewitching form, like a handsome form, and also the power to churn the minds of even the great rishis and churn the mind of even Shiva. So that's pretty much what we have here. And all this fits into the framework of maintaining and then taking care of all the negative forces that are hindrance in the smooth running of the universe. And then verse number 6, we saw last week that how with just the side glance of Divine Mother, Kadaikan Parvai, just with that, how he gets power to keep the entire humanity under the spell of this desire so that the human race continues. So that's how you see the continuity of the verses. And in verse number 7, Acharya introduces to us the full-fledged form of Devi, her physical features. How does she look like? And then further on in verse number 8, we are given details of where she lives, what she does, what is her environment, and so on, and what she sits upon, what's her bed, all those things. 7 tells us how she looks like, and then 8 tells us the details of where she is, what kind of island she lives in, what kind of her asana is, what kind of her munch is, and all that. So that's where the continuity flows. Such a beautiful Saundarya Lahari. Like we saw in the first verse, it's not for everyone to even study this. It's not for everyone to even meditate upon Devi. It's not for everyone to even think of Devi. It's not for everyone to hear the glories of Devi, other than those who have done a lot of punyas. That was very first to herself as Acharya, very clearly stated that, very clearly. Yeah. Katam akrita punya prabhavati. How can anybody who hasn't done any punya even come closer to you? You're also blessed. We are also blessed. And thanks to Shalini ji who started all this. So we're looking forward to a wonderful journey. And only prayer we put to Divine Mother is to give us the ability to continue and complete this yajna. So all of you should pray that. And once we complete it, I'll invite all of you to our Tiruvannamalai Ashram for a Satachandi Homam with the Saundarya Lahari Parayanam. We will do that. As a matter of fact, we have scheduled a Satachandi and a Maharudram in our ashram next month, July, from 27th to the 31st of July. So if anybody interested, please contact me. We'll send you the details and the flyer. There are about 100 priests who's coming. These are amazing priests who do Atirudram. And this time they are doing in our ashram, Satachandi and Maharudram. So, like I said, once we complete the 100, we will have a glorious celebration by doing a Satachandi in the ashram or someplace that we all decide to do. This is verse number 5. Haristvam haradhya pranata jana saubhagya janani puranari bhutva puraripumapi shobhamanayat Haristvam haradhya Harihi Tvam Aradhya Haristvam Aradhya Pranata Jana Saubhagya Janani Jana Saubhagya Janani Haristvam Aradhya Pranata Aradhya. Vishnu, having worshipped you, having done aradhana to you, kind of power you got. In those days, Pura means this is something that happened before. much before Acharya composed this. That's why he says Puranari Bhutva. So becoming a damsel. What did he do? Puraripumapi. So by he goes to the Acharya, he gives the highest example. There are other things that Hari did, but here he gives the highest example of what the power of that gift of Vara from Devi was, so that even Shiva was shaken up with that power that you granted him. Puranari Bhutva Puraripu. Ripu means enemy, Pura means the Tripura Asuras. The enemy of Tripura Asuras, Lord Shiva, even he got shaken up. Chabamanayat. And then who else? Smaroapi. Smaroapi. Smaroapi Tvam Natva Ratinayana Lehyena Vapusha Muninapyantaha Prabhavatihi Mohaya Mahatam. Even Manmatha, he got his very name by worshipping you. Why? Because he was able to churn. Mat means मंथन करना, जो मंथन करते हैं ना कि उसको, इसलिए और सब लोगों के मन को वो मंथन कर देते हैं, तो इसलिए इनका नाम हुआ मनमता. स्मरोमपि त्वां नत्वा रतिनयन लेह्येन वपुषा. The first thing is that he got such a handsome form that the eyes of Rati could lap it up, lehyam. So you become like a Rati Nayana Lehyana. Rati's eyes could lap it up. Lehyam means something that, we have different kinds of food that when we do the food for prayer from Bhagavad Gita, Brahmarpanam Brahma Havihi, Brahmagna Brahmanahutam, Brahmaivate Nagantavyam. Brahma karma samadhina aham vaishvanaro bhutva praninam deham ashritaha prana apana samayuttaha. Watch the last line. Pachamyannam chaturvedam. You become the digestive fire and help us to digest. Become the Jataragni. 4 kinds of food. What 4 kinds of food? 4 kinds of food is lemon rice, tamarind rice, jeera rice, and no, pepper rice. No, not that. 4 kinds of food are the ones that you chew, once you swallow, once you lick, and then there's one more. So that lehyam is what you lick with your tongue. So Acharya uses such a beautiful imagery here that Manmata got such a handsome form that she was just lapping it up with her eyes. So, and then it's also the story of how he was revived, even though he got the power to churn the mind of Lord Shiva, but unfortunately, because of that power, he got burnt. And then owing to the grace of Parvati Devi, he was revived with a condition that he'll be visible only to her eyes. So, and that's where this analogy. So within this one word, see how he packed up so much of information. And also, not only Lord Shiva, Muninam Apyantaha, here it includes Vishwamitra, Prabhavatihi Mohaya Mahata. So this is how these two got the power from you. One got the power to assume the form of a beautiful maiden anytime he wants. The other one got the power to churn the minds of rishis and even Shiva, and a beautiful form. And then here I just put a picture to give you a visual idea of what is meant by Rati Nayana Lehyena. See how her eyes are. There's Manmata is not visible to us. It is visible only to her eyes. There's one kind of medicine that you need to lick with your tongue. So that's called lincture. You all know tincture, that you put on your, wound, tincture. When we grew up, we used to have tincture. That's the only medicine that was available, tincture. You'll burn like hell. So the tincture was there. And now this is lincture, okay? And so that's what Manmata got that from, Rati Nayana Lehyena. So sum up for this meaning, O mother, the bestower of Saubhagya to people who worship you. Vishnu, having worshipped you, assumed the form of a woman and caused mental agitation even to Shiva, the destroyer of Tripuras, or the enemy of Tripuras, Pura Ripu. Likewise, having bowed to you, Smaro Api, with a personality pleasingly attractive to Rati Devi, has become capable of generating a passion. That's what Rati Nayana Lehian. Passion even in the minds of the great sages. Now, Saubhagyam. What is Saubhagyam? Saubhagya, that word Bhagaha, is where the Saubhagyam comes from. You know, when we chant Rudram, the very first word, Om Namo Bhagavate Rudraya, Om Namaste Rudramhanyava Utota Ishabhe Namaham. So that Bhagaha, Bhagavan, Bhagaha from Bhagavan Bhagyam. That Bhagaha is just not green dollars or grey rupees. It is just not your buildings or your mansions. Bhagaha Aishwaryasya Samagrasyasya Viryasya Yashasha. Even that Aishwarya, it just doesn't mean wealth. Aishwarya means within it, it includes your health, your family, good husband, good wife. These are all Aishwarya. You may have everything. You may have wealth, you have mansions, you have businesses, you have money flowing in like crazy without you doing anything. You know, you put them all on autopilot, that money keeps pouring into your account from all the businesses that you've created and put them on autopilot. But then your family is shaken up. The husband is not talking to the wife is not talking to the husband, or the children are going crazy, some are into drugs. We see all this in this material world. You know, particularly in America, I've seen it so many times. It just, the wealth and the material achievement doesn't mean anything, because there are many children from wonderful families have gone astray. So sad, so story. Thanks to this little gadget, the cell phone. So there are many that even commit suicide because of these games, some kind of a games, all this nonsense. Anyway, so the Aishwarya is good family, good husband, good wife, good children, good health, good food to eat, because you may have everything, even all this, and there comes coronavirus all of a sudden. What are you going to do? You know, it's such a tragedy that the children cannot even do the antim kriya to the parents. What kind of a sin the humanity must have committed to come to this stage? You know, they stayed far away. And then there are people who really disowned, I'm not exaggerating, there are people who disowned their parents. Though it's not, I don't know who that is. So, all that. So that is, when all this is in place, that is Aishwarya. Samagrasya viryasya yashas shreya jnana vairagya arogyasya shanna bhagahaitirana. So that is Saubhagya. And then Vishnu himself is the rishi for the first half of the Panchadashakshari mantra. So that he is the rishi for the first half and Manmata is for the second half. So they did worship, intense worship of Sri Chakra, Sri Vidya. And as a result of that worship, that's how they got the power. So this slide explains how they got the power. Now, because of the power that he got to become a lady, at least 7 times Vishnu used it. And we know the details of the 6th one. The 7th one, we don't have too many details. Kanakaswarni, he was supposed to be an asura killed by Vishnu by taking a form of a woman. And Lakshmidhara gives us that name. I never heard of it, but I looked for it. I couldn't find it. If any of you know who that Kanakaswarni Rakshasa was, let me know, or let Shalini know. So the first time that he ever took a form of a maiden is in the Dwarukavanam story, along with Lord Shiva. He was Bhikshadana, and she was the Mohini. And then next time to rescue Lord Shiva from Bhasmasura. And the third is the more popular story of Samudra Manthanam, to get the elixir of immortality. And then the fourth time after Shiva burnt the Tripuradam, and Shiva was so wild and mad, all the Asuras got so scared that he is going to wipe out the entire Asura Kulam. Then they ran to Vishnu. Then Vishnu promised them, okay, don't worry, I'll take care of it. So he took a form of a maiden again to come in front of Shiva and appease him. And then the fifth form of Vishnu we know is Vaishnavi Devi. And then the sixth form is called Malsha Narayani, where Vishnu is in the form of a divine mother. That's in Maharashtra. So we'll see all that in detail. So here you see Vishnu, how he's closely associated with Devi. This is your Lalita Sahasranama. Mooladharai Kenilaya Brahma Granthi Vibedinim Manipuranta Rudita Vishnu Granthi Vibedinim Vishwadika Veda Vedya Vindhya Chalanivashini Vidatri Veda Janini Vishnu Maya Vilasini Viswagrasha Vidhrubhama Vaishnavi Vaishnavi Vishnu Rupini Ayon Hiryoni Nilaya Kutastha Hula Rupini. Then also in Chandi part, we have Rudurga Shaptashati. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Vishnu Mayeti Shabdhita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha. So Vishnu is very closely associated with Devi. And not only that, that most of you know, or if you don't know, here is an information that in any Shiva temple built as per Agama Shastras, mark the word, built as per Agama Shastras, in the Garbhagraham, the Sanctum Sanctorum, main shrine will be the Shivalingam. So the Agamas mandate that who should be on what directions. So in the south, you should have Dakshinamurti. It's so unfortunate that Dakshinamurti is reduced to Guru Graha. It's so sad. He's not Guru Graham. Dakshinamurti is Jnana Guru. so, so he's not one of the Navagrahas, okay? So Dakshinamurti, the Jnana Guru who teaches in silence in the south. And then in the west, we should have Lingodbhavar. Lingodbhavar means where Lord Shiva manifested as a pillar of light to resolve the dispute between Vishnu and Brahma. And that's what Tiruvannamalai celebrates every year as Kartika Deepam, where he stood as a pillar of light. So that's in the south. That's in the, this I'm talking about the outer walls, of the Sanctum Sanctorum. So outside the Sanctum Sanctorum, the south side of the wall, south wall should have on its outside, not inside, outside, Dakshinamurti. And then the west side should have Lingodbhavar. And the north side, it should have a Vishnu Durga, a standing form. Vishnu Durga meaning that she has a Shankha and a Chakra. And it also should be, there also should be Brahma and Vishnu in the north side, where the Gomukam comes. And on the same side, you also should have Chandikeshwara. So this is how Agamas, as per Agamas, a temple should be built. And most of the temples, pretty much all the temples in South India, and you'll be amazed even in Karnataka, the temples are built like that. And I'm not sure if many of you know, next time when you go to Karnataka, if you go to Chamindi Hills, everybody knows Chamindishwari. Yes, Chamindishwari temple, that's why you go there. But do you know there is this wonderful temple of Lord Shiva, huge, as big as even Madurai Meenakshi temple. It's a huge temple with exactly like a ditto like Madurai Meenakshi temple, just a few yards away. If you go a little further in, there's a beautiful Shiva temple there. Nobody goes there. When we went there, it was so empty. I just sat there and chanted the entire Rudra. Such a lovely temple. Next time when you go to Chamandi, do not miss that. So there also we have this beautiful structure built as per the Agama Shastras, where we have even the Murti, Chandishwara Anugraha Murti. That's beautiful, where Lord Shiva appoints Chandishwara as the custodian of his of all his properties. So that's why I'm sorry, I'm giving you all this information so that you know, because whenever I get an opportunity, I give you as much information as we can. But we'll continue with the verse in a minute. So the reason, when you go around the sanctum sanctorum in a Shiva temple, when you go around the Shivalingam, as soon as you come in front of Chandishwara Murti, we do this. And you know what kind of explanation people give? All kind of explanation. They say, oh, he's sleeping, you wake him up. And somebody even was so imaginative to say, oh, he can't hear. So you have to clap to get his attention, so he does this to hear you. None of the above. The reason you clap your hands, because Indikeshwara, being the custodian of Shiva's wealth, you go in front of him, tell him, Indikeshwara Swami ji, देखो हमारे हाथ पर एक धूल भी नहीं है. Not even a speck of dust in my hand. Strictly speaking, you're not even bring vibhuti outside the temple. But doesn't mean you should throw it on the pillar there now. Strictly speaking, no. Just use it. Just take only what you need, apply it. I give it to others. Or leave it by Chandikeshwara. He is a custodian of Shiva's property. So, Chandikeshwara only a little boy. 1 year little boy. He was a cowherd. Not even a jnani, not a Vedic Pandit. He was not Agama Shastra, Shastri, none of that. Just a balak. Gwal bhal. Just a cowherd. And he got to become topmost devotee of Lord Shiva, where Shiva takes his kondre garland from his head and puts it on Chandikeshwara's head, anoints him, appoints him as the custodian. So, and that's all kind of stupid explanation people give when they see the Chandishwara Anugraha Murti. We have one in our ashram, huge Chandishwara Anugraha Murti. We also have around the Dhyana Mandapam, we also have a huge Gaja Samhara Murti, in addition to Dakshina Murti and the Nalvar. So that people say, oh, he's taking a snake and put it on his head. That's a garland of kondre. Anyway. Ya Devi Sarva Bhuteshu Vishnu Mayeti Shabdhita Namastasya 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 Namo Namaha. So, the story of Dwarkavanam. The story of Dwarkavanam is a very interesting story that even Adi Shankaracharya mentions, talks about it in his Panchakshari Nakshatramala Stotra. There were these rishis. Dwarkavanam is a forest of Deodar trees, so it's called Dwarkavanam. Chidambaram is what was once the Dwarkavan. So we had these rishis, the hamlet of rishis, where the rishis lived with their patnis, little village or little hamlet. Rishipuram, you may call it. So in the Rishipuram, they had all these powers. Powers means they're well versed in karma kanda. All kind of rituals they can do. Any ritual they can do and get all kind of powers they want. So once they got all these powers, it got into their head. You know what they say, like power corrupts and absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. That's what happened to the rishis. It got into their head, arrogance. So they said, okay, we can do anything we want. We can create anything we want through these kriyas, the karma kandas, havans, prayers, japas, mantras. So what do we need the gods for? We are the god ourselves. So when this happens, that's when the divine forces have to intervene. And Vishnu, being in charge of maintenance of order, he had to intervene. So we went to Lord Shiva. Okay, what's happening is not good. So Shiva said, okay, so let's do what we usually do. So Vishnu took a form of a beautiful Mohini, and Shiva took the form of a handsome Bhikshadana that you see. And both of them come walking through the Dwarkavanam. And the rishis are so bewitched by the form of Mohini. So they're doing Havan, and Mohini and Bhiksharana is walking, and they're looking at the Mohini, not Bhiksharana. Looking at the Mohini, Namaste Rudramanyo Utota Ishave Namaswaha. The ghee is going outside the Homakund as the eyes are on Mohini. This is a fresco in Chidambaram temple depicting this event. That's Bhikshadana. This is Vishnu Mohini. So this is what happens to the Rishi Patnis. And then Acharya, in his Panchakshari Nakshatramala Stotram, very beautifully, in just one word, describes the condition of what happened to Rishi Patnis. In 16th paragraph, Panchakshari Nakshatramala Stotram has exactly 27 paragraphs. Acharya composed it. And how many stars we have? 27 stars. So 27 paragraphs, and he calls it Panchakshari Nakshatramala Stotram. So not only there are 27 paragraphs, each paragraph has only 4 lines. And each one of the lines end with Namah Shivaya. So 4, like first paragraph, will have 4 lines. So 4 padams. Each nakshatra has 4 padas. Mudal padam, Rendam padam, the first one, second one, third, fourth. 4 quarters, we call it. So 27 nakshatras, and then each one has 4 padas. How many you have? Totally 108 padas. So you have 108 lines on this. So the reason I'm telling you this is because in 2018, I was doing an online class on Panchakshari Nakshatramala Stotram. In 2021, when we had this vision to build this huge Shivalingam temple in Arunachalam, it was October of 2020 that we got this vision to do this huge Shivalingam, over 33 feet tall, Banalingam, not any ordinary lingam, surrounded by 108 Shivalingam. This was the vision in 2020, and by end of 2021, we finished a Kumbhabhishekam on that. That's a long story, not going there. The reason I'm telling you is when I tried to analyze why did I get that vision to do this, why 108 Banalingam surrounding the huge Banalingam of 33 feet. So then after a little bit of thinking, I got the answer. Oh yeah, this is why. Because we had just finished a couple of years ago Nakshatramala Stotram with 108 names of Lord Shiva associated with each pada of the 27 nakshatra. Namah Shivaya, Namah Shivaya. Each pada of this 27 nakshatras ends with Namah Shivaya. So, which means that there is one Shivalingam with a particular name for each one of the padas. So, in other words, there is no pada that is not represented by a Shivalingam. And what is this 108? Shiva's Ashtotra Satanamavali. Shivaya Namaha, Maheshwara Namaha, Shambhave Namaha, Pinakane Namaha, Shashekara Namaha, Madeva Namaha, Virupaksha Namaha, Kapadrine Namaha. So we named each one of these Shivalingam with these 108 names. So the first one will be Shiva, second Maheshwara, third Shambhu, fourth Pinaki, Sashishekara, Vamadeva, Virupaksha, Kapardi, Nilalohita, Shankara, Shulapani, Kadvangi, Vishnuvallabha, Shipivishta, Ambikanatha, Sirikanta, Bhaktavakshala. So like that, 108 were named. So now how do you fit these nakshatras? Exactly the way they are. Acharya described them. First you start with Ashwini 1, Shiva. Ashwini 2, Maheshwara. Ashwini 3, Shambhu. Pinaki, Ashwini 4. So that just light bulb went in my head. That's why Acharya sang this song, and he called this Chakshari Nakshatramala Stotram with exactly 27 paragraphs. So if you go to our ashram, you would see that you would have a Sivalingam for your own nakshatra and pada. So it's a beautiful. And then about the concept of Banalingam, I'll give you some other time a talk, but we're confining ourselves to Saundarya Lahari. So where Acharya describes the Dhargavanam story in this Nakshatramala Stotram. This is how the verse goes. This is the 16th verse related to Vishaka Nakshatra. Pahimam Umamanonya Dehate Namah Shivaya Dehi me Varam Sitatri Gehate Namah Shivaya Mohitarshika Samuhate Namah Shivaya Svehita Prasanna Kamadohate Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Pahimam Umamanognya Dehate Namah Shivaya. Protect me, O Lord, who is pleasing to Parvati. Pahimam Umamanognya Dehate Namah Shivaya. Dehi me varam sitatri gehate Namah Shivaya. जो आपका वो रहने का स्थान है वो है कैलाश. सिताद्रि गेहते. और क्या है? तो देहि में वरम पाहिमाम, आप भर दीजिए और हमको रक्षा कीजिए. तो then the last, look at this. मोहितार्षि कामिनी समूहते नमः शिवाय. पाहिमाम उमा मनोज्ञ देहते नमः शिवाय. देहि में वरम शिताद्रि गेहते नमः शिवाय. मोहितार्षि कामिनी समूहते नमः शिवाय. This is the Dwarkavanam story. Svehita prasanna kama dehate Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Mohitarshi kamini samohate. Rishi kamini. Mohita Rishi kamini samohate. One who bewitched the entire commune of Rishi Patnis. Dwarkavanam. Mohita Mohitarshi Kamini, Rishi Kamini, Samohate, entire commune of Rishi Patnis. Who bewitched. That's the story here. Just a pictorial representation. It's a Bhiksharana, and this is the Rishi Kamini Samoham right here. So Mohitarshi bewitched the entire group of Rishi Patnis in Dwarkavan. So this Dwarkavanam story is another occasion where Vishnu took the form of a maiden to keep the work of maintenance and keeping arrogant people under control. So that Lord Shiva is always pleased with the true bhakti. Svehita prasanna kama, and then grants all the desires also. That's how the Acharya describes in that verse this particular instance of Dwarkavanam. Now, another time where Vishnu really had to take Mohini was Bhashmasura. You all know that story. Shiva always gets himself into trouble because Bholenath, Ashutosh, easily pleased. And you know that this proverb that think before you act doesn't apply to Lord Shiva. He just acts and thinks after. And thank God there was Vishnu. So this Bhasmasura, did a lot of intense penance, the story, and got the boon that whoever he touches on the head, they'll burnt into ashes. He said, okay, so be it. Okay, my God. All right, come on, let me test my bone right on your head. So he runs, Shiva is running from pillar to post, and there comes Mohini, Vishnu to his rescue. And then Bhasmasura is distracted by the beautiful form of Mohini. And then, oh, I want to hug you, I want to do this to you. So you can hug me and I'll hug you too. The thing is, first you have to do what I do. What? Well, you got to do this dance that I do. So Vishnu as Mohini bewitched him into getting into the dance mode. So while dancing, suddenly she makes this one move where she puts her hand on her top of her head, and Bhasmasura, without thinking, does the same thing and turns into Bhasma. Bhasmasura himself is turned into Bhasma. There's a beautiful statue that representing that. Look at that, with a hand on her head. Lovely. What an exquisite statue. What kind of art we all had. We still have. This is such a culture. Look at that. Details. So when you go to temple next time, look at each one of the statues. There is a story behind each one of them. There is a story. If you ever go to Madurai Meenakshi temple, you go to the Swami Sannidhi, there'll be two huge statues. One will be of Swami, of Shiva in a dancing pose, and the other one will be right close to him on another pillar, huge, of Kali. Now this is a depiction of Shiva and Parvati as Kali in there. And in there, you would see right under the feet of Lord Shiva a tiny skeletal, very tiny, very small skeletal form of an old woman. You know who that is? That is Karakalammayar, the very first Nayanmar in 6th century. So Karakalammayar has the unique glory, unique form of depiction in the 63 Nayanmars. All the 62 will be standing and Karakalammayar alone will be sitting. If you go to any Shiva temple and see, Ammayar will be only sitting there. She won't be standing. Because, you know why? Karakalammayar in the 6th century was such a great devotee. It's a wonderful story, but I'll just tell you this much. That when she went to see Kailash, in those days, there was no flights. No, none of what we have. So she went there, and when she went to Kailash, she said, I'm not going to walk on my feet because it's a holy place. She was a great yogini. So, and then she walked on her hands to Kailash. So, and then when she walked, Parvati ji was so shocked and surprised. She asked Paramashiva, who is this lady? He says, Ammavara. Means mother is coming, Ammavara. Well, आपकी क्या माता जी, आपका माता जी कहाँ है? आप तो, आपको तो कोई पिता भी नहीं, माता भी नहीं, आप तो अनाथ. You're an orphan. How do you get a mom? No, she adopted me and I adopted her. She adopted me as my son, as her son, and I adopted her as my mother. So anyway, so then when she comes close to them, and Parameshwar and Parvati are so pleased with her bhakti, they asked her, what kind of boons can we give you? I don't need any boons. But anyway, they insisted, tell us what kind of boons. I need two boons. One is that I should not be born again. And if at all I was born, then I should not forget you and also remember you in bhakti, like forever. So that's one boon. What's the second boon? I want to see both of you dance. And I will sing. She says, I will sing and both of you dance. And then Shiva says, okay, no problem. But not here. You go to Tiruvannamalai. Tiruvannamalai is a beautiful place in Tamil Nadu. So you go there and we will do it for you. So, Nan pada ni aada vendum. Then I should be close to your feet forever. So those are the boons she has, the two boons. She combined everything in there. So then she goes to Alangadu. Karakalammayar goes there first. And then there's all these ghouls and ghosts. So in her Andadi, if you read the 11th Tirumoolar, where you have Karakalammayar's Andadis, she describes in such visual details what kind of ghosts and ghouls and, and spirits were living there. She just even tells that one is just eating half, one is hungry, one is half a stomach eaten. All these details she gives. And then she drives away with her power of yoga dandam. She drives away all these devils and the ghouls and spirits. There's no more Halloween festival there. So all the Halloween festival ended by Karakalammayar right there in Tiruvannamalai. So, and then Divine Mother and Lord Shiva appear and dance for her. So that scene is depicted in Madurai Meenakshi temple near Swami Sannidhi. And then right in the feet of Lord Shiva is this tiny form of Karakalammayar in a skeletal form. Because when she was young, she prayed to Lord Shiva, give me a form like a old woman so that people won't bother me because I have this beautiful body. So that's how she got that form. So that is why I say whenever you go to temple, each statue will tell you a story. Even if you go to Tiruvannamalai, each and every deity, Tiruvannamalai or Tanjavur, wherever you go, you would see all these little carvings, and to pay attention to them. There's wonderful stories hidden in there. Anyway, coming back to the third time that Vishnu took the form of a maiden, is you already know this fabulous story, Samudra Manthan. So that we won't go into details, you all know the story. That's what she did. All right. Now that also Acharya gives us in his Panchakshari Nakshatramala Stotram, this Samudra Manthan story too. Karma Pasha Nasha Nila Kantate Nama Nila Kantate. That's the story of the Samudra Manthan. Karma Pasha Nasha Nila Kantate Nama Shivaya Sharmadaya Varma Basma Kantate Nama Shivaya Sharmadaya Varya Basma Kantate Nama Shivaya Nirmamarshi Sevitopa Kantate Nama Shivaya Kurmahe Nathir Namadvikuntate Namadvikuntate. Vaikuntate Namadvikuntate. The one who resides in Vaikunta, you are worshipped by him. Dvikuntate. And that's the meaning. And the first one is Neelakantate, how you got this Neelakanta through the story of this Samudra Manthan. Karma Pasha Nasha Neelakantate Namah Shivaya Sharmadaya Varya Basma Kantate Namah Shivaya Nirmamarshi Sevitopa Kantate Namah Shivaya Kurmahe Nathir Namadvikuntate Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya Om Namah Shivaya. When we do a class on Panchakshari Nakshatramala Stotram, we'll do all these details. But just a reference to what we are talking now, that story of Samudra Manthan, where Vishnu took a form of Mohini. Right there you see that Mohini. And then I mentioned this to you. After Tripura Dahanam, that Shiva was so enraged, then all the Asuras went to him fearing that their entire clan would be wiped out. So then the story goes that Vishnu took another form of another maiden to appease Lord Shiva. And then the fifth form of Devi, Vishnu as Devi, we see in Vaishnavi Devi. Vaishnavi, the power of the preserver of God Vishnu. Vaishnavi means the power of the God Vishnu's power is Vaishnavi. So she is described as being seated on a Garuda, which is the same as Vishnu's vehicle, and having 4 or 6 arms. And she also has the Shankha and Chakra. She holds Shankha and a Chakra, and a Gada, mace and lotus, and Varada Mudra and Abhaya Mudra. So like Lord Vishnu. So that's Vaishnavi. And then we have this Malsha Narayani. Most of you may not have heard it. There's a picture of Malsha Narayani with Narayana in the back and she in the front. Another form of Mohini, a female avatar of God Vishnu, and is called Malsha Narayan, worshipped as a consort of Khandoba. Good. And then this is the one I said that we couldn't find any reference anywhere, but then that Lakshmidhara does mention Kanakaswarni as a Asura who was killed by a Mohini form that Vishnu took to take care of that. So that one. So that's 7 times. Okay, let's see what the story with Manmata. Smaro api tvam natva rati nayana lehyena vapusha muninama pyantaha prabhavatihi mohaya mahatam. You saw all the meaning. That he also worshipped you, having done tapas, got this beautiful form after he was burnt, who is visible to only Rati's eyes, whose eyes was just enjoying the beauty, lapping up your handsome form. And then you also got the power to churn the minds of rishis, including one of Shiva. Now, the question is, $1 million question. Is this fair? What is fair? You know, the rishis, they do so much tapas, so much discipline, austerity. Is this fair for Manmata or Devi, who gave him the power to go and disturb the rishis like that? It's not fair. From our point of view, if you look at superficial, it's not at all fair. But then if you look at the continuity, like I always do, it was fair. It was very much the right thing to do, because as a result of this, what happened? Menaka was sent to disturb, of course, Manmata. Menaka was sent to disturb Vishwamitra, and we all know what happened. And then there was a child that was born, and Vishwamitra refused the child and abandoned. Even in those days, it had happened. Abandoned the mother and the child. So that Shakuntala was the baby, poor girl. She grew up in a rishis, I think it's Kanva rishis, about. Then same thing happened to poor Shakuntala as well. Dushyanta comes and, and then because of a curse that she incurs from, I think, Durvasa, when she came, and then, she forgot to something. So he cursed her that your husband will forget you. So Dushyanta forgot her. So unfortunately, that's the little boy was Bharata. So the thing is, the reason I'm pointing out all this detail is that as a result of this, we say it's not fair, but it is fair. Why? Because who we got as a result of this incident? We got Bharata, after whom the entire India is named. Right? And also what else we got? Kalidas has all this wonderful creation. Abhinava Shakuntalam. This is like even BC, like I mentioned last week, that BC, when the rest of the world was barbaric, we had this culture of supreme glorious poetry, Kalidasa, 1st century BC. No, that's when he did Shakuntalam. So all this is the fallout from Manmata Leelai. Manmata Leelai Vendra Undo. Last week we saw that. So that was, even though it was not fair to disturb a rishi, but then eventually Vishwamitra got what he wanted to get, Brahma Rishi. So even that is mentioned by Acharya in the 12th verse, Putra Falguni. Dinamana Varli Kamaden. Dinamana Varli Kamaden Ve Namah Shivaya. Sunabhana Daha Krit Krishana Sunabhana. Krit Krishana Ve Namah Shivaya. Swanaraga Bhakta Ratna Sana Ve Namah Shivaya. Dhana Bandakara Chanda Bhana Ve Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. In verse number 6, we talk about this a lot. The Sunabhana, the flowery arrow. The flowery arrows. Sunabhana, made of 5 flowers. We discussed it in detail in our last class. So it's on YouTube. And then, thing that I like to point out, that even though it was not fair on the part of Manmata to go and disturb Paramashiva's tapas, as a result of Paramashiva's tapas, the purpose he was sent by other devatas to disturb Lord Shiva is for the creation of Shanmuga. So it was, but for Manmata, we would not have Shanmuga. And but for Shanmuga, the atrocities of Surapadman, Tarakasura, and Simhamugan, all these would have gone uncontrolled because they held a sway over Devaloka. Even the Navagrahas were the steps to the throne. So that's how bad these guys were. So it's because of Manmata having disturbed Lord Shiva and the 6 parts that came out of Lord Shiva that we had Shanmuka. Parvati took them all, put them on in because one body and 6 faces, 6 heads. So that is Shanmuka. So that's all the result of Manmata Leelai. Therefore, we should not blame Manmata. He's always doing good to us. More than doing good to us, he brought India's population to the highest population past China. Thanks to Manmata. Okay? So don't blame him. Now, the mantra for this verse number 5 is Hreem Kleem Blame. And you could pick out these bijas right in this verse. So the Reem, Hreem is Hari, and Yi is from Janan, Neem, that Yi, so Hreem. So that Kama Bija is underlying there. So that Kama Bija Kleem comes in there. So Hreem from Hari, and then E from Neem, and then Smaro, that Manmata is the Kama Bija, And then the lay is for the blame mantra came from lay, and the ba came from ba is ba. And so that's how you get this mantra, Hreem, Kleem, blame. So like this, every verse has a mantra hidden in it, along with the yantra. So with that, we would conclude. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahe Tejasvinhavaditamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Srimatre Namaha. Om Namah Shivaya.